What's up, everybody? It's D to the J with the roll away, and we are live for episode 161 of My CP Does Not Define Me. Hope everybody's having a great day. We are live on Facebook and New Choice Radio. Happy to have all of our listeners tuning in and happy to have all of our viewers coming in. If you're watching the show for the first time, please feel free to leave us a comment and we will respond to them accordingly as they pop up onto our screen. Hopefully, we're going to have lots of listeners today. We are going to talk about setbacks, and we're with a wonderful individual, my sister from another mister, Miss Shana Sunshine herself. Shana, thank you for being here. For those that do not know who you are, do me a favor and share just a little bit about yourself, and we can take it from there because we're gonna run with it. You know how we do.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. My name is Shana. For some who know, some may not know, also known as Sunshine on Wheels. Well, let's see here. I'm an able mom of two. Well, I can't even say I'm still a mom, but I have a college student and one leaving to go to college very soon. Very soon. Let's see here. I do crochet, as you all know. I do a lot of crocheting and I get into a lot of things to keep me busy. Um, I was diagnosed, I want to say, wow, 17 years ago with a muscle disease called polymyositis. And it's a disease that, of course, attacks your muscles and slowly they deteriorate, so the doctors say. But yes, that's me all up in one nutshell.
Now we've talked about polymyositis before, and saying it and talking about it are both hard to do.
Hmm.
But there's they said that there's a lot of similarities to, I believe, muscular sclerosis. Is that MS?
Muscular dystrophy.
Well, okay, muscular.
Hmm. Now,
Um,
they did say MS. That
yeah.
that was their first thoughts, but no, but it's very similar to muscular dystrophy. And with mines, I know with muscular dystrophy, yes, it does affect the muscles, but
Hmm.
for me, it affects like the core muscle, the muscles that's closer to the stomach area. So it would be the upper arm area, the upper leg area, the neck, and my doctor main concern now, which is my heart, because it's a muscle. So yes.
Were they? Is it often? Did they say it was often misdiagnosed? As far as because there weren't a lot of doctors that knew about polymyositis when you were first diagnosed, right?
Absolutely. What I went to a total of five different hospitals. And I went first to Johns Hopkins. They did the muscle biopsy. And what happened was I was just going around to different hospitals and, explaining my situation. And every hospital that I went to told me that I was at the right place, which was Johns Hopkins. I've even seen a rheumatoid arthritis. Oh, yeah, rheumatoid allergist. What is that? A person that does like with arthritis and things like that.
Yeah. The
So I went to see them. It was like nothing that I can do for you. You're at the right place for it. So I went back to the Hopkins. They did the muscle biopsy. I had a neurologist that determined that I had myositis, but wasn't sure what it was.
mhm.
So I stayed with Dr. Charger for a total of 2 years. He did the muscle biopsy. He did treatments with me, high dosage of prednisone. I'm talking about IV, 1,000 milligrams of prednisone. And then going home on prednisone, they sent me home on what? After 100, then it went down to 80, but never would go past 80 for a long time. And you talking about somebody looking like a football player? I look like I could play for the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know what type, but I was big from the steroids. I can take a tackle or I could tackle somebody down. That's how I was. That's how huge I was. It would take my son to explain which part I could have played on the football field. But yes, so with that, and after a while, the 2 years I was with him, Dr. Chaudhry, he said, well, Shayna, What are we going to do with you? And I replied back, Dr. Charger, you the doctor. You're supposed to tell me what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
he laughed at me and he said, I want to see if you qualify for this program. It's called myositis, and this goes out to do more research. This is a program that doctors is aware of your type of disease, but we don't know what you have. It could be polymyositis, it could be dermatitis, but they don't know. It could be a muscle disease where it's affecting your lungs, but also your muscles at the same time. It could be affecting your skin and your muscles at the same time, or in your case, it could be affecting all of your muscles. But he wasn't sure, so I finally got accepted into that research program with Dr. Andrew Madman, and I've been with him ever since. It's been a lot of downs, some up and some ups, but a lot of downs. And he's thinking, I've treated people like you, and I'm going to go by the same thing that I've done with them, and hopefully that helps. But in that case, it didn't help.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, I'm doing IVIG, which is 6 days a week for 1 month. And what happens is this medicine is giving my body the antibodies that it needs to fight off infections. Because right now, with this muscle disease, I'm no longer able to fight off infections. So somebody's common cold could turn into pneumonia for me. Pneumonia could turn into something worse. So I have to do that. I do that once a month. And then we've added on another treatment. And we're going to see how this one goes. I can only get it once every 6 months. And we'll see what happens with this new treatment.
Mm-hmm. So in the medical part of all this, and I remember you talking about it when you were first diagnosed with it. We've had you on the show before, but what would you consider your biggest setback being at the time? Going through all of that, him trying to do what he did with other patients, that not working, you going through all of this, is this going to end? Where do we go from here? What was your biggest setback, would you say?
Not accepting myself
Mm-hmm.
having this disability, that would be one. Another setback would be for me, now that I know, is that I was angry, I was bitter, I was upset, I was depressed, and it was all because I was living with a disability. There's no manual to this at all, especially if you're somebody that was once an able bodied person
Mm-hmm.
and then you go home and now you're not an able-bodied person. It's a lot that you take on, and it's like things coming towards you from every angle, and you don't know because you never dealt with this situation before. I mean, you talking to someone who fell at work out of the blue and couldn't get up off the floor and then had to have an ambulance come and pick me up. You're talking to someone who, when after I gave birth to my daughter, the doctors told me, midwife, mind you, who helped me give birth to my son, same midwife, same hospital, told me maybe you need to lose a little weight and maybe the heaviness will go away. It took my grandmother to tell me that there's something wrong with you because she noticed that my feet would not pick up off the ground while I would walk.
Mm-hmm.
I would be just dragging along. And then it turned into wallowing like I'm a pregnant lady. And it is no manual to it. And my setback is I didn't accept it and I wish I had. Another setback is I wish I wasn't angry, bitter, depressed. Now seeing it from the other end, it's okay. It was all right. It was just something I had to go through. And it took me 10 years to be okay with my life.
So let's fast forward a little bit. When you went through all this, and you kind of, let's say, kind of sort of got a handle on it, because like you said, there's no manual for it. It's one of the rarest disabilities in the world, as a matter of fact. Hey Daniel, how you doing? Good evening. Welcome to the show. I just, once you kind of got a grip on it and realized what it involved. Where did you go from there? How did the setbacks decrease? And like you said, you can take a setback and look at it as a good thing or a bad thing. Where were you there?
Okay, I would say it took my cousin Karina, who is, this is so crazy how it works, how we come full circle with things. I met her college professor, Professor Janice Jackson from University of Maryland. I met her. She was in her wheelchair, but I was an able-bodied person. I was still walking. I was still driving. But to turn around years later, I meet her again. But now I'm in the situation where I'm in a wheelchair, and I'm seeing this lady who's a college professor who is still going out and teaching and who is living her life. And then I'm looking at, okay, now this setback got some good things to it. I can do it because I see her.
Mm-hmm.
She's in a chair. She's a black, beautiful woman. She's doing it and not allowing her chair or her disability to get the best of her.
Mm-hmm.
So I can do this. So now this setback is now becoming a come up for me. I can do this because I have people, I have mentors, I have friends like you. I have people that are living their lives regular. Well, there's no such thing as normal, but you are living your lives and you're not allowing your disability, you're not allowing your wheelchairs, you're not allowing your cane or your crutch to dictate your life.
Right. You kind of segued right into my next question. There is no, everybody has to find, in my opinion, their own individual normal. There is no normal. We're all a little bit crazy. We all go through things. We all fight. We all have setbacks that we have to deal with. How did you find your quote unquote normal, or as close as you could get to it?
Looking at my children,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that if I don't get out of what I'm dealing with, and I can honestly tell you all, it was at my son's football game. He wasn't even middle school yet, elementary school, his football game. And I sat in my mother's car and I cried because I could not get out to go to hit the field to watch him play. And it's like at this point you feel hopeless. I was feeling useless,
Mm-hmm.
depressed, bitter, angry, mad, feeling like what's the use, why am I still doing what I'm doing?
Right.
And I had to realize that you got children you got to live for. At that time you have children you have to live for. If you're not going to live for yourself, if you're not going to be happy with yourself, at least be happy for having those children because they looking up to you. If something happens to me today or tomorrow, who's going to have them besides your mom and your cousin or godparents? Who's going to take care of them?
Right.
And
And
nobody's going to take care of you like your mom do. So I got to look at that. I got to keep fighting because I got two children that I have to take care of.
I had heard that before, and you were one of the first people that I heard say I had to live for them. It took me a long time to realize because I was always taught you have to live for yourself first. Because if you're not in a position where you're okay, and it's okay not to be okay, we've been told that before too. But to not live for yourself and to live for somebody else because you know that they need it. I mean, it could be the fact that I don't have any kids, but we're working on that. I mean, in the same point, was it different realizing that you had to live for them, and did you know how? Like, you understand what I'm asking you? Like, because to go from what you were dealing with at the time and to shift that and say, okay, I know I've got what I got. The polymyositis is here. That's not changing. We're gonna roll with what we need to roll with. But I've still got school for Colin and Shania. I still got to do this. I got to, worry about tuition. I got to worry about high school. I got to, how did you shift to that?
The how I shift was because of I push myself to the back. At this point, I feel as though I can't be selfish no more. I can't allow them to keep seeing me down. I can't allow them to keep seeing me depressed, because if you allow your children to see you at your worst, that's going to take them through something.
Right, right.
That's going to make them feel like, huh, here go mom again. I don't even want to go home because I don't know what mom going to do. So I had to realize that, girl, you got to wake up. You can't be selfish no more. Once you decided to have children, they are your number one priority. And whether you like it or not, as my grandmother would say, that's your little red wagon. Either you're going to pull, push, or kick it. But those two are your responsibilities. And you're going to have, you got to keep on going no matter what. So I had to push me to the side, no longer be selfish. My reason at that time was to make sure that my children had a better life than what I had, whether I'm going to do it from this chair or whether I'm going to do it from a hospital bed. But I'm going to make sure that they have the best life. And that means mommy can't lay down and cry and be sad. Mommy going to get up, put her cape on, and I'm going to be superwoman. I'm going to do the best that I can do with what I have. It's not going to be easy. I may have to ask you, can you reach that for me? Can you pick that up off the ground? But at least you know you got love. You got someone that's going to protect you the best that they can. And I'm going to put them first because, after all, they deserve it.
Mm. Hey,
Hi,
Andrew. Thank you
Andrew.
so much for being here with us. Andrew said so true. And, he agrees with you 100%. I want to. One of the quotes that we have, and one of the quotes that you and I have talked about so many times is, you found your strengths through your children. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember
Mm-hmm.
the first time I had you on my show, I asked you, and I don't know if you remember this, what did you mean by that, and how did you find your strength through your children? Do you remember what you told me?
It could have been on the lines of, I didn't have no other choice, right?
Well, you said that, but you talked about Colin going.
Okay, at
Yep.
Walmart. Okay,
Mm-mm-mm.
so here's what happened, you guys. My first time ever taking my wheelchair out of the house. First time having a wheelchair, getting on the mobility. My son is with me, son and daughter is with me. And we get to Walmart, first time ever being in my wheelchair in the public. And I'm stopping and I'm allowing everybody else go past me. And my son, he's like, what, 14, 15? He stops and he says, no, ma, let them wait. You got rights just like they do. You go ahead. And then I knew from that point on, here's this young man, teenager, telling me that you got rights. Stand up for yourself. There's nothing wrong just because you're in your chair. That doesn't mean anything. You're
So let's and I stop you there for a reason. Sorry to, we were talking about setbacks, and I think people not advocating for themselves because they don't realize at the time that they can is one of the biggest setbacks out there. Why do you think that is?
it may be depending on what that person may have been through in life. You don't know if this person may have been told all their life that they can't. So now their mind is just adjusted to that I can't and I won't and I will never. And then you may have some that may think, if I'm tired of being in this situation, I better do something about it.
That's
That's
it
right.
right there.
And and I don't know about some, but I know about me. After a while, if I'm tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired, then
Mm.
that means your girl gonna do something about it. And that means right now I'm gonna focus and be the best that I can for my children. And then it's like, well, what are you going to do once your children no longer need you?
Right.
Hi, I become selfish again, and
Right.
I'm going to now work on myself.
I think we realize, we look at the bottom when we hit the bottom and we don't realize we're there. Okay, now I'm at the bottom. The bottom is here.
Yes.
What you know, I, we
Oh,
lost you.
my phone is messing up, but can you all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
Um, I realize that
There.
in some cases when we hit rock bottom, we say, "Oh my God, I've hit rock bottom. Now what do I do?"
Mm-hmm.
There's two points I want to bring out here for those listening on New Choice Radio and for those watching on Facebook. When you get there, from the bottom, you only have one way you can go. You may not realize it right now because you're covered in dirt and grime and all the crap that you've been dealing with and all the negative stuff that you've been focusing on. But you have one way to go, and that's up. And the word can't. I want to go back to last week's guest. We had Captain Jack Morgan on the show who said the word can't it's a homonym. I think he said where it stands for something else. I conquer all
Or
negative
negative.
thoughts.
Okay, thoughts and not things. Okay.
So the problem is, in your first setback is when you're in a negative situation or a situation that's not necessarily even negative or just not going your way. Where is your mindset? And I think the mindset of the person, once they get their mind out of the you can be mad, you can be angry, you can be upset, you can be pissed off, you can do all of that. But if you stay there and you wallow in it and oh my God, I'm never gonna get out. You can't speak things like that because you're speaking it into fruition, and then it's going to make it 10 times harder to climb out of the uphill battle. Now, I realize having a disability, whatever you fight, the problem may seem insurmountable at the time. But when you tackle a problem a little bit at a time, go back, put it on the shelf, attack it again, go back, put it on the shelf, attack it again, eventually that problem is going to go, this person is resisting me. I'm going to start breaking. And once you break through the barrier of the problem and you realize I can and should advocate for myself because I have rights, I have feelings, I have thoughts and actions that need to be heard. If every voice in the United States of America and every voice in this world realized they deserve to be heard, not just to talk, but because of what they face, I think the setback would become something that you said, a turning point for you
Mm-hmm.
to where it became, what's the word you used?
The setback ended up becoming my comeback.
You come back, and the comeback for you was your children, which is an amazing story. Through the mouths of babes. Only 15 years old, and to say something that's wise beyond his years. That's and it, but it's truthful,
Mm-hmm.
and that hit home for you.
Oh, absolutely. But you know what else had to take place? I had to come to reality or take a grip of life and change things because of course in the Bible it says life and death is in the power of the tongue. If you keep speaking negative, you're only going to get negative.
That's right. True. That's right.
So you got to change I had to change the way that I speak. I'm I'm not depressed. I may be sad today, but I'm not going to stay there. I'm going to get up.
Right.
And I'm not going to allow myself to sit and have a pity party. So you got to change the way you think. You got to
Mhm.
change the way you speak to yourself and about yourself. You have to encourage yourself. Hell, I'm doing therapy. You got to do therapy. And yes, I'm still doing therapy. And to believe it or not, I had my children to do therapy because what happened was 2014, my grandmother passed away. I watched her take her last breath. 2015, my mother passed away. So 2014 of December, I had one grandmother pass away. February of 2015, I had another grandmother pass away. And then April of 2015, I go in to the hospital for them to reboot my immune system and give me a treatment called Cytoxin, which was a chemotherapy that wiped out my whole entire immune system. And mommy come back home with no hair.
Mm.
So just imagine what that would make a young person go through. You didn't great grandmom's died, and now mom leaves. She has a head full of hair and comes home with no hair. So you got to get therapy. And if those things were traumatizing to me, I know it had to be for my children. They did therapy by themselves. We did family therapy together. I'm still doing therapy till this day.
Have you ever? Well, before I ask this question, let's talk about that a little bit. And I believe this is a comeback point for you
Yeah,
too.
that's part of comeback therapy.
How
Yeah.
how has how has the therapy helped you? How has your therapist helped you?
It has helped me to work on things that I never dealt with in life, even before becoming disabled,
Mm-hmm.
from childhood, growing up,
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. And it helped me to realize the things from like my parents, because my parents, I was raised by my grandmother, but I did eventually go live with my mom. My dad wasn't always there, he was busy in and out of jail. And then I go live with my mom after living with my grandmother. That's a lot of things you got to unpack. So
Right.
don't think you're going to get in there and voila, everything's okay. No, 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 no. You got to get down, deep down in that hole and dig your way through. You got to keep digging and digging and digging. So I had to work on what happened to me when I was younger. Wasn't nothing traumatic. It's just that my parents didn't raise me my whole entire youth,
Mm-hmm.
young childhood growing up until maybe like 13, going to live with my mom. And then I had to understand that whatever that they were going through, that's not my problem. Just work on where I'm at with them right now today in life. Don't go back. Don't be mad, be angry and upset, because if so, you only hurting yourself. You got to learn to forgive and forget and move on. Don't hold anything inside because of somebody else. That's another setback. You angry and upset with someone because of what they done to you. You got to let it go and keep going. So I had to do that in therapy. And then I had to be okay with living with a disability. I had to learn that in therapy. I got to talk about these things. And sometimes it comes back up again where I can sit there and tell a therapist. I talk to her every Thursday. And I can tell her, you know what, doctor, I'm not feeling it today. Why is that? Because I wish I can walk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not feeling it today because I got to depend on somebody else to help me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not feeling it today because I got to wait for somebody else to come and do what I feel so that I can do by myself today.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay. It's a part of life. This is what we deal with. But you can't stay there. And I can talk to her another day and tell her, you know what? I crocheted 3 hats today. You know what? I got 4 new customers today.
Mm-hmm.
It's all in what you do. Your setbacks can be great comebacks, but you got to do the work.
Now I've got to ask you this one because I want to see where this goes, and I know that expression on your face is going to change because mine did too.
Hmm.
You said earlier that you drew your strength from your children. Where
Hmm.
do you think your children drew their strength from? Mm.
Believe it or not,
From you.
I can say me.
Exactly. I
Exactly.
I
was
can
going
say
to say
me.
something.
I'm not going to be cocky about it. I'm not going to be beating my chest. Yeah, I did it. I did it. No, I can honestly say from me. And you know what's so crazy about that? I never really look at it like that. I never
How,
realized that the
how come?
strength they would be receiving would become from me because I look to them because that's my strength. I'm looking to them because that's what's keeping me going. I'm looking to them that's telling me, "Ma, I don't care about what they say. They can keep on talking." I'm
Mm,
looking to them when I got my son who's picking his mother up off a floor without any help. I'm looking at them who my daughter, who is 5'4", and can transfer her mother from a wheelchair to a bedside commode, from a bedside commode to a bed. And I'm like, yeah, they strong. They
mm,
strong. I look to them. And it's like not knowing, mommy, I've learned so far that I'm the reason why they do certain things. My son, we have conversations all the time, and he'll tell me, yeah, because my roommate asked me, how come you cook so good at a young age? He said, because my mom taught me when I was younger so that I don't have to depend on anybody to fix food for me.
mm-hmm,
But I
mm-hmm.
thought you said your mom in a wheelchair. Yeah, she is. And what? She still can do it.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, the where I'm going with this now, this might throw a little bit of a curveball here, but I'm going to go here. You had no way to prepare them for this because you didn't know yourself that this was going to happen. But as much of a setback as it was, in the dealing with it and the figuring out of it and the okay, we got to help and we got to help mom and we got to do this, it became a comeback because now you're going for somebody else that's going through the same thing you're going through. You have groups to talk to and you find people and you go, have you tried this? Have you thought about this? It's okay not to be okay. You're going to have those days where you don't want to say anything, you don't want to do anything, but you've got to get past that point. What will your kids do now that they are graduating college, that they are, becoming young adults and taking on their own lives? How much has how much of this has prepared them for if something happens to them, we know what mom went through. I mean, it's you look at the full circle of this, and you talked about it a little bit earlier. I remember when you were lifting water bottles just to get
Hmm.
strength in your arms, but I see you like crochet blankets, and I'm going knit one what over the thing, under the thing, and through the thing. My coordination don't knit no blanket. How do I? But I mean, beautiful stuff like hats and scarves and shirts and sweaters and purses and bags. I'm going, dang. I mean, just, but again, to be able to do that, it's not only a physical toll, it's a mental toll, but it gives you something to focus on outside of what has my disability taken from me now.
Absolutely, absolutely. It gives me a sense of you can do this. You're all right. You got this. It gives me and it was so ironic about the crocheting is that it was something that I did to help keep strength in my hands so I could do my daughter hair when she was younger.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor telling me I'm losing strength in my hands. He says, well, Shana, you got to figure out something that you can do to keep you with your strength in your hands. And voila, go to YouTube University. I'm a college professor now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, I mean, it's just strange how things work out. And there you go. Another comeback from a setup.
That's where I want to read this comment that Lena said. Yes, amen. Never give up. You might be sad for a short time, but you can't stay there. It's a
Mm-hmm.
choice. Life is hard, but it's our journey and no one else's. Get there one piece. Our pace. Get there at our pace. Be proud as always.
Absolutely, Miss Lena. That's right.
You look at and I'll talk about Lena just for a second. We've known, our group that our cerebral palsy group that we have, we've known for a long time, and Lena has become a totally different person. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
from Lena last year to Lena 2 years ago, 3 years ago to now is mind blowing to me. Um, in saying that, though, the wisdom in that is each person has their own individual journey.
Yes.
And that's what and this is not a setback. A lot of people will take the journey itself and the problems that they face in the journey as a setback.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, I have CP. I can't walk. I use crutches. I use braces. This, that, and the other. This, that, and the other. I have cancer. Yeah, everybody has their own setbacks, but in the journey itself and living through what you suffer from, you have to find your strength and your belief in something, because getting through those lonely nights where you're sitting there and it becomes this woe is me all the time, you
Mm.
can't stay in that mindset, because
No.
that's the true setback of how I'm going to get out of that. I believe that one of your greatest accomplishments is living to share this,
Yes.
because being, God, I believe it's 8%, no, 6% get the polymyositis that you're, less than 6% of the women in the world
Mm-hmm.
get this, and you're living to tell your story. So again, now your kids can hear this and go, we did something right, because your kids are well raised, they're well mannered. I
Mm-hmm.
know, um, there was an incident, if I remember right. You told me Colin was inspired by me, and I went, what? Because
Mm-hmm.
I was very young in my show. Within the first year of my show, starting my CP does not define me, and you said he saw you cooking and he went nuts. He was like, "Mom, you got to see this," and took it, and I went, you
Be
know,
surprised. Yeah.
you don't realize the impact that you have on people when they're watching you. Just because of the numbers of viewers I have right now doesn't mean that that's all that's watching.
Right.
There might be, hundreds of people listening on New Choice Radio, and they're not commenting, but someone out there right now has finally realized I can get through this.
Absolutely.
They they've
Absolutely.
been they've been fighting for so long, and they've been digging for so long, but the problem is they've been digging the same hole.
Yes.
Sometimes you got to dig a new hole.
Hmm.
Sometimes you got to
Up
plant a new
climbing.
seed,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to realize if one way doesn't work, that's okay. Do something different, but ask yourself this question. And I think this is the biggest setback of all right here. If you don't ask yourself this question, what do I want to do? What do I want to be? and how do I get there? Okay, there may be 38 steps to get there, and you're on step number 8.
But you on the step. That's the
See, that's what I'm talking about right there. You took 7 steps to get to 8. You can't look back at the 6 steps or 7 steps before that and ask yourself, how did I get there? Sometimes you got to crawl.
mm-hmm,
Sometimes you got to scoot yourself.
mm-hmm,
Sometimes you got to walk. Sometimes you got to drive. Sometimes you got to roll. Sometimes you got to scoot on your belly and get scratched up and go through the briar patch and get the rocks in your hands and bleed a little bit and get cut up and get messed up and say, okay, I'm not dead yet, but I'm stronger than I was
but you're still
yesterday.
going. You're still going. You're still going.
See,
Absolutely.
I look at life, we only get one set of batteries.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But that doesn't mean that we can't recharge our batteries. Now, listen to what I'm saying now, because this is where we get kind of confused. Well, if I'm going to get one set of batteries, they're going to die.
Mm.
We're all going to die. We know that. We live, we go through life, and then we die. But it's within that 86 to 96 trips around the sun that what we do with our lives, that is not the only thing that makes us important.
Mm-hmm.
It's the impact that we leave behind that people take to carry that lineage on. See, your children now are going to carry the Shana on, sunshine on wheels attitude and carry that
Absolutely.
and move that forward. But they had to not only understand it, but they had to embrace it to feel it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, they had to live it.
Mm-hmm.
They had to live it. They had to live with mommy going to the hospital, may not come home today. They had to live with, oh, we don't know what it is, but we're gonna figure it out. They had to live with, come on, let's get mommy up. They had to live with, let's help mommy get in the shower. They had to live it. Let me tell you something. My son and daughter can go to medical school right now and become doctors because of everything that they had to live with and watch me go through.
Mm-hmm.
And
But
not one time have they said, oh, I'm tired. I'll be glad when she go sit down somewhere. Not one time have they complained.
why do you think that is?
I think the reason why, I'll be honest with you, because I guess they figure I see mommy already going through enough as it is. There's no need of me adding on to it.
I love what you said right there. Just that short little statement of again, your children putting you first.
Hmm.
You realize these kids today, some of these kids today need to watch this show right here, because the way they talk to their parents, the way they treat their parents, the way they misuse their parents, they think their parents are money bags that can just give them anything they want. But when children are raised properly, and I'm talking about the old school raising, be home when the street light came on, eat what you got on your plate, or get up hungry.
Hmm.
I'm talking about, you get the neighbors looking out for you when your mama's at work. No, I'm gonna tell your mom what happened because I saw it. I was
Hmm.
raised that way. Okay, and look how I turn. I'm not saying that because I got a big head about it. The self-respect of this world, Anish kids toward most of their parents and most of the children, is gone now because of I want, gimme, gimme, I need this, this, this. That's a setback right there. There's an old expression: if it's not broke, don't fix it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The old way worked. There's a difference in spanking your child and beating your kid. Okay, some kids got whipped with extension cords and switches and not saying that's the greatest thing, and belts, They turned out all right. They had a few marks on them and a few scars on them, but they learned something because their parents did the best they knew how with what they had. And I literally I look at you and I say, man, this right here is an inspiration because you've got a lady that was floored. You to 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 not have a disability in the beginning and to be go 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 all the time, and then bam to be hit with
Yeah,
it. That's that's different. That's
absolutely.
different.
And I mean, I can honestly say that the two children that I have, God, I love them and I'm so proud of them. And I can honestly sit here and tell you, yep, 16 they were working. They had their own jobs. 16 got here, you're going to pay your own phone bill. You're responsible for your own shoes. I buy the car, but you got to take care of it after I buy it. And I did it with my son, turned around, did the same thing with my daughter. It can be done, but it's all up to the parent to do their part. You can't allow electronics and for children tell you what they're not going to do in the electronics to raise them.
Mm.
Still got to do your part. And I mean, it's a work in progress. Some days it's going to be good, some days it's not, but you still got to do your part and make sure you show your children that you love them. You're there for them. They can come and talk to you about anything. Y'all got to have that understanding with each other. And they got to know that you're the parent and I'm the child. And I got to respect you because you're my parent.
You mentioned at the beginning of the show that your disability didn't come with a manual.
Nah.
Parenting doesn't come with a manual either.
No, 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 no.
But I will tell you this, and I will tell you this on New Choice Radio. I'll tell you this on Facebook Live. I'll tell you this in front of God and the angels himself. You've done one heck of a job raising those two kids because the respect that they have for people in
Mm-hmm.
general. I I have never, when I was growing up, I never looked at black and white. I never saw black and white. I never uh, was racist, or I was the only white child in my class, and it didn't bother me
Yeah.
because I was raised around African American people, and that's all I knew.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't bother me because I didn't see any differences. They all have a heart, they all have a brain, they all have a soul, they all have a life, and they've all gone through things. And at the end of it, you get a big picnic table, you get 36 of them together, you have the best cookout food you ever had in your life. You learn what real collard greens are. And I'm not trying to be funny. You learn what real food is, how to make stuff from scratch, back in the back, macaroni and cheese. You learn to use your hands, to get dirty, to pick up sticks, to play with a hula hoop, to kick a can. The games they had back then, what tag and flag football and
Yeah.
not and writing letters and being being pen pals and all of that. None of that exists now
No.
because everything now is technology, 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 and they're pushing cell phones and iPads and game systems and
Mm-hmm.
PS5, and I've got some of that. But let me go back one second. I also have a Game Boy. I also have a Walkman with a pair of headphones on it. I have a CD player because I value the things. I value the things that were bought for me. My mom worked three jobs, two jobs to raise two kids, and one with a disability. I don't know why I got number three in there, but
You got a brother or sister somewhere we
I,
don't know about?
I'm probably on my daddy's side somewhere. I don't know. But and it was tough times with my father, but we made it. My father is high in his 70s, but and he's still working
Mm-hmm.
because we put our nose to the grindstone and we work. That's what we do. My grandmother worked till she was 65. London Fog Coat Factory, pressing coats. The journey that you take on your life is going to prepare you for what comes next.
Yep. And that's where there's a setback or a comeback. It all pains itself out.
So to close out, we got about 10 minutes left. Let's talk about full circle for a second. Let's
Mm-hmm.
talk about where you are now. How how much better are you doing today than you were, let's say, 6 months ago?
I would say extremely good.
Mm-hmm.
Extremely good. I mean, I still have my bad days. I just don't stay there. I'm doing extremely well. I have a son that's in college. Nobody's smoking marijuana. Nobody's drinking, and he don't wear his pants down underneath his butt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have my
Well, we
daughter
need to do a
who's
show on that by itself, right?
I have my daughter who is in her last year of high school. Track cap. She's a captain of the track team. She was just in the newspaper here in Bel Air where we live. They have a newspaper article about her in her high school. And what? She drives, she works part time, and she's on her way out the door next. So if I could sum it all up, life is good. I'm on a new journey where I'm going to be soon an empty nester, and now I get to work on me.
So let's go there. Now you're looking at, both of them are finishing college. You're going to be the empty nester. The transition is going to be different. You realize that you still need to help.
Absolutely.
A lot of that has
Mm-hmm.
not changed because it's a progressive disability, and that happens.
But I think in my mind, well, I'm not going to say I think it's the fact that I know that I'm not going to allow this to get the best of me.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
is what it is. We're going to fight tooth and nail, and I know how to fight. I might got to fight from this chair, but
Hmm.
I'm going to keep on going. I'm not going to allow this disability to continue to take over my life. It
Hmm.
is what it is. It's here. I'm not stuck with it. It's stuck with me, and we getting ready to go for a ride.
Mm-hmm.
I love the way you put that. That closing statement is, I'm able to fight. I may have to do it from the chair. I may have to do it a little differently, but I'm going to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
The disabled community needs to realize something. Everybody in this world somewhere has a problem. I don't care if you're on the radio. I don't care if you're the president of the United States. I don't care if you're in Congress. I don't care if you're putting a video game machine together right now, getting ready to ship it out to whatever company you got. Somebody in this world, everybody in this world has a problem in some way, shape, or form. When we realize how to face it, and we realize that we can not only face it but conquer it. Yes, congratulations. That's very true. I Miss Winnie said congratulations to the. That's awesome. It is because
Thank you.
to see someone succeed after the pure hell that you've been through. I My mom used to say someone always has it worse off than you.
Than you. Yes.
And it's true because there's always somebody out there that's got it worse than you do. But
Mm-hmm.
but I don't like looking at it that way. This is the way I like looking at it. I believe that because of this right here,
Thank you, Miss
you
Wilson.
have done it. I'm so proud of you, aka Edwina Wilson. To hear that,
Thank you.
I, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel that I can do anything. And I can remember Miss Wilson telling me, like a long time ago, she told me, because my thing was I'm going to prove to everybody what I can do. And she told me one important thing, and I've always remembered: you don't prove it to nobody but yourself.
That's true.
Mm. Miss Winnie has inspired so many, and she's done it. She's done it with her words. She's done it with her actions. Hell, she's done it with her thoughts. Saying, and I know we've only got a few minutes left, saying and not allowing negative energy into her life
Mhm.
is so powerful. And you've done that. You've turned around the look, this happened, but I'm not going to think about it this way. I'm going to do
Absolutely.
this. You can find good even in a bad situation.
Yes.
You might gotta put your hands in the darkness and let a little bit of light through there. But
Mm-hmm.
once you get a little bit of light through that, darkness gets scared and it
Mm.
dissipates.
There
It
Mm-hmm.
you go.
changes. So Miss Shana is I haven't made this announcement yet, but she is going to co-host some of my shows with me um, as
Two
we go
Wednesdays
through.
out of a month. Yes. 2 Wednesdays out of
we
a month.
we have been friends for a long time, and it just she's so good at bouncing off ideas and turning things around and being able to give her perspective on some of the things she puts together. I wanted to have her up here tonight because her story is powerful, but the outcome of what her story can do for others can let them realize it's okay not to be okay, but
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be okay again
Yes.
because this too shall pass. And I
Absolutely.
want to say for all the guests that I've had on my show, the 161 episodes that I've done, I couldn't do it without Edwina Wilson, without Shana, without the
Yes.
guests that I've had, and Kelly's Choice and New Choice Radio, to be able to be there. But you've got to keep growing, keep going, and keep sharing and
Yes.
keep moving because you can't look back. You have to go forward. And that's the way to get things done. Because if you spend time in the past, you're going to miss out on the future. And I just want to say this as we close. If you'd like to be part of the show, please email me at carterdj85 at gmail.com. Leave just a couple sentences in the body of the email. Please don't write a book because I ain't going to read all of it. Just because you email me doesn't mean you're going to be on the show. I've got to set up an interview first. I'd like to hear those stories. If you've got a story that you want to share that you think can inspire someone, can give someone hope, can give someone the ability to push through, email me, let me know because we want to get these stories out. They need to be heard, and we need to uplift people. This world needs to be uplifted badly. We are in
Mm-hmm.
a state right now of being so down on ourselves and so blah, blah, blah to where we have forgotten how to let the sunshine in and get the darkness out. That's what we've got to do. So, as I say always, if you can't be good, be bad, but be good at it. This is D to the J with the roll away, saying we'll see you next Wednesday at 7 p.m. on New Choice Radio, Facebook Live, and YouTube for another dynamic episode of My CP Does Not Define Me. Good night, everybody.
Bye.